we take every case individually and look at those cases, and you just have to dig into each person and how the injury is affecting them individually.
How do you find out how much your personal injury case is worth? Well, that's what we're going to ask the lawyer on today's episode. Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com, and my guest is attorney Merrida Coxwell from Jackson, Mississippi. Merrida, thank you for answering our questions today.
You're welcome. It's good to talk to you again.
So, a little scenario. Somebody's injured, maybe seriously injured, and it's due to somebody else's negligence, and they think they have a personal injury case. I imagine you get asked this question all the time. Probably one of the first questions you get asked, how much is my case worth? What's the answer to that?
Well, it's in real serious injury cases, it's generally not the first question that we get unless the clients come in to see us months and months after the injury. But
Right.
At some point when people are finding out, especially in serious injury cases, how their life has changed, that is the biggest question they ask. And for a lawyer, it's probably the hardest question to answer. Now, in the legal community, you hear these formulas all the time. Some people say, well, you take 1.5 times your special damages all the way up to 5 times your special damages. We don't like to lay out any particular formula. We want to look at every case individually, but statistically, that may be a true formula.
And what are some of the things? I know there's a lot of things, but what are some of the things that go into figuring out what damages could be?
Well, the biggest issues, we'll break the damages down to what's called compensatory damages and then punitive damages. In probably 99% of the cases, you can forget about punitive damages. Those are damages that are imposed to punish someone for really, really bad conduct. Now, that leaves us what we call special damages. And those are damages or economic damages where you can actually put a finger on, like, you have so much in past medical bills, you're going to have future medical bills, you have past wages lost, you have future wages lost, you have a diminution in value of your wages, so you can't go back and do the same work. So, suppose you're a doctor and you work with your hands and you've got a hand crippled. Anything that you can really put a pencil or a pen to, that's what we call special damages. And there's no limit in Mississippi to those damages. They can go. I've seen cases where they went up to $30 million, for example, in a life care plan where someone needed day by day in-home nursing care, on ventilators and serious medical issues. And then you have the other type of damages. Some people call them hedonistic damages. Some people call them general damages. And those are for loss of enjoyment of life, damages that we all as people sometimes forget about, but it's going in at the end of the day and squatting down and grabbing your children when they run up to you. But it's being able to go outside and throw a ball with your boy or your girl. It's those kind of damages. And those damages are limited in Mississippi to $1 million. I know that sounds like a lot, but if you're in your 20s or 30s and you're completely incapacitated, I personally and most lawyers and most people, when they think about it, don't think $1 million is a lot of money.
And what if, maybe not in a serious injury case, Merrida, maybe someone less seriously injured, but what if they say, well, why can't I just represent myself and I save legal fees? What would your answer to that be?
Well, I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and if it's a very, very small car wreck case, I'm dealing with a client right now who believes he's recovered except for a very nagging and consistent pain in his back. And I have told him flatly, I'm not taking any more steps on your case until you get an MRI. If you have an absolute no injury case, I think in many instances you can solve it yourself. Now, I do have clients call and say, look, the insurance adjuster doesn't want to give me fair value for my car. And we'll give them tips about how to deal with the adjuster. But if you're dealing with a case where you have any injuries whatsoever, it's going to take a lawyer working inside the system who knows the elements of damages, who knows how to talk to an adjuster. And look at Coxwell and Associates. We don't spend a lot of time talking with adjusters. If they don't come to the point where we think the case is worth, we just scrap them and we file a lawsuit. It is much easier pushing it through the system fast and dealing with attorneys who know the damages.
Is it important that I find someone who is a trial attorney, Merrida? And what does that mean and why is that important?
Well, any lawyer in Mississippi who tries cases could be called a trial lawyer. Even the lawyers for the insurance company are going to be called trial lawyers. What you want is a personal injury trial attorney, someone who has actual, or what I like to say all the time, real experience handling cases. You have groups of lawyers who just bring cases in as fast as they can get them and try to settle them as fast as they can. That's just not our business model. And I hate to even use the term business with something like law practice, which is a personal service. But in the same one sense, it is a business, but we take every case individually and look at those cases, and you just have to dig into each person and how the injury is affecting them individually.
What is the downside to somebody who's quick to settle the case, Merrida? Hey, I can get it done and go on about my life. The case is settled. The insurance company they'll give me a reasonable settlement offer. What's the downside there?
Well, if they do, and you're happy with it, and you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, the expression people like to use, that you don't have any further injury. I mean, I'm not one who would stand in your way, but I use this teaching example all the time. And there was a friend of mine 30-something years ago who wanted to settle his case very quickly so he could take his family to Panama City on a summer vacation. And he felt a nagging injury in his back. And I refused to settle his case. I said, Mr. X, I'm not going to use his real name because we're still friends. I said, I recommend you not settle your case. And he says, well, I just want to do it. And I said, well, go ahead and settle it yourself. And he did. And if I remember right, I could be a little bit off on this, it was somewhere less than $2,000, his settlement. Now, this would have been in the mid-'80s or maybe even earlier. So that's a little more than it is now. But when he got back and months later, he finally went to get an MRI and he found out he had a ruptured disc. Now, he took a case that in the early 80s would have been worth probably $90,000 to $100,000 if he had some loss of wage earning capacity or even permanent injury, and settled it for less than $2,000. That's the danger. I mean, a lawyer, an attorney is going to get you more fair and reasonable compensation than you're going to get with an adjuster. What an adjuster's job is to do is to pay you as little as possible.
What if I think I can't afford a personal injury attorney, Merrida?
Well, all these cases are handled on a contingency, which means the attorneys pay all the costs up front and just recover them if and when they win. And when we take a case, we're not, there are cases where, look, it wouldn't be a case if there wasn't facts on each side, but we feel like we're going to win, or we feel like there's a good chance, a 50.01%, which is the preponderance of the evidence chance we will win. Now, we've been in some risky cases before. I was in a risky rollover that we won, but it was a stressful case.
And so there's no upfront fees?
No, none whatsoever.
Merrida, thank you so much for answering our questions today. And
you're welcome.
As usual, lots of great information. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Mississippi Attorney Merrida Coxwell. If you're ready for the best information or you're ready to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, make sure to go to askthelawyer.com. Also, please take a sec to like, share, and subscribe by clicking on the button at the bottom of the screen. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com.